Got Your Back Pod Stream is brought to you by Mr. Dirk. From casual wear to suits and formals, Mr. Dirk helps you find the perfect fit with the right look for any occasion. Step up your wardrobe at MrDirk.com.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. You can't trust a forward. Listen to my words tonight. Don't just fall in love with my face. I used to be somewhat of a big deal, wheeling, dealing, no bucket in the warm-up, people carrying my bags in. How many times do I have to tell you through text, let's talk about the PK? That is a dirty hit that needs a response. I like a stiff, stout pillow. We'd rather dress nobody than dress you.
The only thing I like better than easy points are free Slurpees.
Goalies embellish all the time. He tumbled over like he was hit by a Zamboni. Am I this good, or are we just winning by 7 goals, and that's why I'm out here? Just say, I know you're right, Struddy. Just get it out. I think I am the modern-day Ronnie Dangerfield.
Yeah, I get no respect.
And now, Weiss Johnson presents Struddy's World. Here's your host, a guy whose career plus-minus would easily be enough to win every major in golf in the same calendar year, Jason Strudwick.
Oh, throwing punches early. How's everybody doing today? Welcome into Struddy's World for this lunchtime edition. Day off edition. The Oilers don't have a game till tomorrow, so we'll get you prepped and tuned up for what we're expecting in Game 4. Not a must-win, but a very important game for the Edmonton Oilers. The show is brought to you by our good buddies at Weiss Johnson Heating and Air Conditioning. The summer weather has arrived, and if you don't have an air conditioner yet, don't wait. Trust me, you do not want to wait. It gets too hot. Weiss Johnson's your home comfort specialist, so give them a call and enjoy a summer with a brand new AC unit. Specializing in servicing your existing mechanical systems or installing new ones, visit weiss-johnson.com today. Full show for you today. We'll have get you up to speed with Ryan Rishaug, who is down in Florida. Struddy's buddy will join me. It'll be Darren Dreger, otherwise known as Darren Dragon. We'll get into playing the field, talk about some things going on around the NHL, obviously with both Darren and playing the field, and then get off your fence. Why the NHL's got it right this year with the way they're handing out their awards. You don't want to miss this. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm comfortably seating in my home office, which is the Adrenaline Diesel home studio. Now with online store for all your diesel truck part needs, check out adrenalinediesel.ca. And of course, a show is not complete on Wednesdays without my main man, my winger, my alto to my soprano, my man, Zubie. Zubes. A lot of excitement here. It's a little bit different because there's 2 full days between games resting. The team practiced yesterday. But we've come up with a 3-point plan that we'll have to text Knobloch, obviously after the game, or after this, not after the game, after the show, so he knows what to do with his group.
Yeah, it's a little bit I'm sure there's some reason for it, but to have the 2-day break on the non-travel stretch seems backwards, and then a 1-day break on the travel day, so it does seem a little bit messed up. I cut the music here, Struddy, because I was waiting for the cue for you to say,
hit it.
Weiss Johnson, whoa.
We need it today. Weiss Johnson, that jingle. It's amazing how many times I get stopped and people are like, I love the jingle. And they just start humming it as they walk away. I get it on the golf course, actually.
Really? That's awesome.
It's hilarious. It's so funny.
I've heard Oilers play Pink Pony Club after the game, but they play the Weiss Johnson jingle to get pumped up before the game.
I love it. It's so good. It's such a good jingle. Well, thanks for joining us today. Tell a friend. You guys can all join in and keep your questions coming as we go through. We'll get to them at the end where you can ask Struds, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. Let's get though right away. Yeah, Chris Knobloch, the team isn't really, there's going to be an optional skate. There's a team workout this morning. But Chris Knobloch spoke via Zoom, and let's just get right into it with, will there be line changes? That was a question he was asked. Hit it, Zoobs.
Yeah, we will have likely a lineup change. We haven't confirmed that. We haven't discussed that with our players yet, but there are some things that we've been thinking about, and there might be a lineup change.
That is the Digital Soundbox, brought to you by Douglas Mattresses. If you're like me, you know there's nothing better than a good night's sleep after a long day. Your best sleep is just around the corner. With every mattress there, including a free sleep bundle that includes 2 memory foam pillows, a complete set of luxury sheets, and more. Visit the Douglas Mattress Store in Manchester Square. I've been there. It's awesome. Here in Edmonton, or check them out at douglas.ca/GYB. So we're looking at a lineup change. I think we're looking on the back end. I truly do. Now, the options are Jeff Skinner or Stetcher. I think Stetcher's coming in. I think that's an important piece for this lineup. I think he brings more speed. Klingberg's been struggling a little bit, especially on the defensive side of the puck for the last little while. So it brings a different look. And Zubie, even as important as those 2 points, he brings energy, freshness, and a change to a lineup that I think needs to get some fresh juice in it.
Yeah, he seems like, you know, I mean, they're all friends, they're all teammates, but he seems like a guy with a lot of energy from his teammates, a guy that the team rallies around because he's so scrappy, smaller guy, as we've noted, and he's one of the guys in there hitting, blocking shots, and just doing whatever. I do think his energy, if that's the way they go, can make a difference up and down the lineup.
We'll go back into the Douglas Mattress sound box when we hear Knobloch on kind of talking about both Klingberg and Stetcher. Hit it.
Troy's been very valuable to our team through the regular season, the playoffs, and I think probably one thing that we as a coaching staff appreciate a lot from Troy is just how dependable he is. No matter if he's playing big minutes regularly, hasn't played for a long period of time, anytime that we've needed him, he's given us really good minutes and usually not making mistakes. And as a defenseman, that's really important. As for John's been great through the playoffs. He's got us through a lot of rounds. You know, we wouldn't have got through those rounds without the contributions that he made. And, you know, at this time of the year, you want depth.
So there you go. That was Chris Knobloch just this morning. You couldn't get that any fresher from the head coach. So Zubie, you know, I think you and I are probably in agreement. There's got to be a change here at some point in the lineup. I think it's Stetcher in for Klingberg. They get a little bit quicker, not as skilled, but I think he's going to play more direct game. I think that helps them. There are 3 points I want to outline, though, Zubie, but I believe are the key points. And, you know, Knobloch has spoken about today and also at other times. You don't have to make massive changes, but the Oilers just have to get back to what they do well. So let's get through it. Number 1, stay out of the box. They're not a team that is running around and, you know, let's put the third period to bed yesterday or from the other night. But, you know, even early in the game, they're trying to be physical and do all these things. It's one thing to be physical and take hitting penalties. You don't want to see some of the stick infractions. So stay out of the box, play whistle to whistle. Don't engage with Tkachuk after or Ekblad. Stay out of that. Make them chase you rather than the other way that we saw last game. So that's a huge thing looking forward to tomorrow. 2, speed through the neutral zone. They got to move that puck quicker. And if you're getting stood up at the blue line, chip it behind their D and make their D turn and go get it. You can hard rim it, go that off wing will get it, or you have someone drive the heels of that D man and you grab that puck as it goes through. You know, the Oilers can skate fast. They're a fast team, but last game they looked slow. Too slow moving the puck, too slow getting it. So that's number 2. Number 3, and this is something I've been beating this drum for 1,000 years. The D-man got to move the puck quicker. Case in point, John Klingberg on, I think that was the 3rd goal, comes around the net. He's confronted by Barkov. He could have stopped and gone the other way or moved that puck a lot quicker, chooses not to. Barkov knocks him into the ref. The ref doesn't help the situation. Boom, it's in the back of their net thanks to Reinhart. So
Yeah.
These are all things. I'm not asking them to do something they haven't done before. These are things they can do. So just like Knobloch has spoken about, you don't have to change your game. You have to get back to what you do well and not try to be something you aren't or they aren't.
Yeah. I actually think that Schauger on our last Got Your Back podcast made one of the better points that he said in the first and second period. You just kind of said this a little bit. They weren't hitting. They were being physical or trying to be physical, but they weren't hitting. They weren't body checking.
I like that.
No one laid a big hit. And that's what they have to get back to doing. And if you miss the guy or he spins off and gets away from you, don't grab him. Don't don't put your stick around his waist. Just find that next spot to try and lay a hit. So I thought that was a really good point that Schauger made on our last show. And I'll just say, going back to Knobloch's comments that we heard, it did, if you listen closely there, it sounds a little bit like he's talking about Klingberg past tense.
Yeah.
So I do kind of think, I think you've made a good call on what the change is going to be. Sort of indicated that it sounded like a change.
Should be mentioned, he did also say that Nugent Hopkins is a game time decision. He did play last game. I'll be surprised if he doesn't play. I know I've been saying this for a while, but I still think that Jeff Skinner, the shooter, has a role to play in these final 4 games. I know we're running out of track for that to happen. And my guess of the Oilers winning at 5 is unlikely at this point.
Yes.
But I do believe that the Oilers have to get back to what they've done well. They don't have to do anything new. And I think, as fans, we go up and down, people go up and down and trying to, they're terrible at this, terrible at that. No, they've done these things. They can do these things really well. Zubie, let's go back into the digital sound box brought to you by Douglas Mattress and hear from Chris Knobloch on the importance of Game 4. Hit it.
Well, as boring as it sounds and cliche, it's one game at a time. And, I think we do make some adjustments. Our mentality changes just a little bit with how the game went prior, whether it's a win or a loss, what we're expecting from the other team. Are we expecting changes from the other team? That'll make some changes to our preparation. But it's not really ground shattering. It's not huge adjustments. So, we think we'll probably have a lineup change, but, I think our guys have responded really well, and that response from our players, we haven't changed things dramatically in the past. So, I think we'll be staying standard as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You don't have to go crazy and change about things. What you've done has worked. You just have to get back to it. Maybe do a little bit quicker, a little bit better. Zubie, we got the Schauger, the big guy.
Yeah, I got Schauger on the phone here. Yeah, I'll say, just quickly on that, we do know that Chris Knobloch has been, we know the Oilers' record in games 4 to 7. We know that Knobloch's a guy who doesn't make big change. That's his thing, finding those little tweaks, reading things as the series goes on. So I have confidence in whatever they're planning.
Let's now go to Time to Get Up to Speed, brought to you by Timber House Developments, where if you can dream it, they can make it happen. A truly customized building experience. They've got you covered. Every house is unique. Every customer is like family. See what you can dream up together. Contact timberhouse.ca. I'd like to welcome in TSN's Ryan Rishaug. He's live from Florida down there. And Shaggy, good to connect with you. Just a quick thought on what practice looked like yesterday after a team took a pretty hard beating the night before.
Yeah, it was an upbeat day, man. Like, not a lot of X's and O's, not a lot of time at the board. It was like just a bunch of flow drills and line rushes and getting shots on net and letting players feel the puck, some laughing and joking around. Like, it was a high energy, high tempo practice, Struds. I think it was kind of designed to just let the players feel the puck and let them air it out a little bit with their legs. And then, Connor McDavid came out early, warmed up the goalies, which he doesn't always do. Then he stayed late, did a little bit of conditioning skate with the defensemen. And then I got to say today, Struds, it was supposed to be a complete day off for the team today, like all the main skaters. All the media was told that nobody would be on the ice. And as it turns out, there was like 16 guys that ended up going and skating. Wow. It tells you they're in this headspace of this is not about rest. This is not about recovery. This is about putting in the work. And McDavid and Draisaitl actually went out today, which, nobody had any idea that they were doing this. We were told they were just off, and they went and skated. So they're in the headspace of getting down to it and working through it.
Any spot or anything you see about the power play for the Edmonton Oilers practice yesterday?
No, didn't work on it at all. No, there was nothing. Like I said, buddy, there was no X's and O's. There was no power play drills, no penalty kill stuff. Now, what's interesting here is that because they've got 2 days between games, so They were supposed to have an off day. They switched that to a full practice yesterday. They were supposed to be off today. Most of the guys go skate, and we've already been told by Knobloch that they'll have a full skate tomorrow. So now, if that's the case, they'll have the entire group on the ice tomorrow. And my thought is maybe that's, if they're going to work on anything on the power play, maybe that's the time that they do that, is on the ice tomorrow in what would be their third straight day on the ice. And it's very different, man. The Panthers, total day off ice yesterday, today optional, where most of the big guns are not out there, and they'll be optional again tomorrow. So kind of just very different approaches from the two teams, and maybe just indicative of what each side feels the issues are and the right way to work through them.
Sugar, we heard from Chris Knobloch this morning. He says he expects a lineup change. What would you expect that lineup change to be?
Excuse me. I think you nailed it the other night, Struds, on our show. Your instinct was Stetcher comes in. You thought maybe 11-7. I don't think they'll go with an 11-7 configuration, but I think we could see Stetcher in and Klingberg out. That feels like the obvious one to me. Stetcher's been really good with Darnell Nurse, right? We know that. Klingberg's been on the ice for quite a few even strength goals against so far in this series, so I think that makes some sense. I can't help but wonder, though, buddy, and I don't know where your head is at on this, but do they contemplate more than one? Do they think about Jeff Skinner? Do they think they've got enough size in their lineup? They've got enough push back in their lineup, and that injecting a guy that can be a one-shot scorer and who's already shown he can come in out of the blue and score a goal? Are you tempted to do that? That would be the only. Are we going to be surprised with two changes when we're expecting one?
Well, Knobloch's not afraid of making moves, and he's shown that over his time as an NHL coach. So if you were to put Jeff Skinner in, I'm on record. I believe he has a role to play for the Edmonton Oilers in this final. Who comes out? Is it someone who's maybe not feeling great? The Brown or Nugent Hopkins apparently has some kind of injury, or is it someone, a bigger body?
Yeah, I think you leave Brown in for the penalty kill. Frederick would be one of the guys. You would say, okay, all things being equal, what have the contributions been? So he's big. He wants to play physical. He wants to get in there, and he's had some moments, but offensively there hasn't been anything there. Physically, it's been fine. He went out and dummied Sam Bennett at the end of the game, which sure, there's some gamesmanship there, and he can handle himself. But I don't know, Struds. They're big enough. They're strong enough. They're tough enough. They can control the space in their crease already. They overdid it on that front. Like, they really did. If anything, I'd be erring on the side of getting a little more flow and offense in there. And I know that they haven't loved Jeff Skinner, but had he not come in already out of the blue and scored and produced in these playoffs, I'd say no chance at all. But you're looking at this guy that scored a reasonable amount for his ice time during the season, came in the playoffs out of the blue and contributed. I can't help but think that might be tempting. Am I not? Is that tempting?
No.
Frederick for Skinner as well?
I wouldn't be against it. What I like about it is fresh people in the lineup. And I'm not suggesting the team's tired, but just fresh energy. You get fresh energy when someone comes into the lineup, and especially when they've sit out. And I can only imagine Stanley Cup Finals. And I think that a fresh energy would be really positive for this group. And both those guys would come in and they'd be flying. We saw it with Kapanen. When he was playing and he came in that series. So I think I'm with you. If that's the way he goes, I'd be like, yeah, makes sense. Let's get those fresh legs in there and get some more kind of tempo and speed.
Yeah, the other thing I'd be tempted to do would be to kick Kapanen in the rear end, bounce him down the lineup. Like, that guy, he goes in these spurts where he's all world and then he just falls off the face of the earth. It's almost like he needs to get himself in trouble before he can get going again. I'd dump him on the fourth line, and I would say skate fast, hit hard. You'll have opportunity to move back up, but you need to get going again. And I would consider doing that. I don't know, maybe you go, I know people don't love Arvidsson and Podkolzin next to Drysdale. I don't know if that's necessarily the best mix. Probably, Evander Kane there. I think you're fine with that. So I don't know what the answer is, but I think that Kapanen needs a remotivation.
I'll agree with you. I think what'll happen is there'll be a line or a change or two, and then I think he'll change the lines. I feel strongly about that. He has a way of finding these combinations that work, and maybe we've seen them before, but they'll be right for this time. So I'm really interested to see what happens tomorrow. Now, I outlined a 3-point plan that I'm going to text Knobloch after the show. You tell me which one for you is the most important. Stay out of the box hashtag play between the whistles. Number 2, speed to the neutral zone, chip it past their D, make their D men turn. That's number 2. Number 3, D men collectively get back to and move pucks quicker, even if that includes rimming it. Thoughts?
You got me? Sorry, you broke up there. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, which of those three, which one would you agree with as most, or is there one that you don't agree with, or shuffle something else in there?
Yeah, those are all really good ones, and I think they're all pretty critical. I think it's going to be really important for the Oilers to try and play some 5-on-5 hockey. So I think your first one probably lends itself to the game being shaped more the way the Oilers want it shaped. I think they need to play it at even strength, get their lines going. Like, they've got good players, and they've got players that can contribute. Like, the secondary scoring that was just the wind beneath their wings through the first few rounds dried up a little bit here. And I think this series hasn't had a lot of flow at even strength early in games. And a lot of these guys that need to feel it are like engaging in halfway through the second period when the game's already half over. So rolling 4 lines, getting everybody involved, and I think that's about playing between the whistles and not taking any bad penalties. If the Oilers are going to keep losing the special teams battle, they're going to have to sort that out, but also don't take the dumb ones.
100%. And for those that don't understand it, when you're sitting on the bench to start the game, you want to get out there and contribute and feel good, touch the puck, get a hit, do something positive. And when there's penalty after penalty, for both teams, you really can't get going. And then you kind of come to the first intermission like, what the hell did I just do? I barely played. I didn't do anything. And then now you got to try to get it going. Well, you're that much further removed from your warm-up. You're that much removed from kind of that mindset of contributing early. So tomorrow I would expect them 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 right away out the door. Everyone going short shifts. Let's get everyone involved. And then hopefully you kind of find your groove. The last thing I'll leave you with is this, Shugger. The Oilers can really lock it down. And I think tomorrow we're going to see a very patient style game from the Oilers, like we saw against Vegas, like we saw against Dallas, where they limit the chances for Florida massively. And they're going to talk to their goalie. They're going to play that way. And I think that will be one of the massive changes we will see, because they haven't seen that in this series. What are they giving up? Is it 14 goals in 3 games?
Yeah, and I think in order for them to do that, though, you can't give up the early one. You can't be chasing it early. I think part of finding that style of game for them is when they're able to play at even strength and when they're able to just roll line after line. And when coming into this series, in game 1, did it not feel like the Oilers were the deeper team? I mean, they rolled more players more often through the game. So when they got to overtime, it felt like they had more usable players. So I agree. And I think when they're able to do that is when they've got all of their guys engaged and they're rolling through it. And they haven't really been able to hit that stride for the last basically game and a half. They have that in them. We know they have that in them. They just have not been able to get to it the last game and a half.
Shocker, enjoy your last evening. I guess it'll be 2 evenings. You won't fly home till Friday, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. I got rest of the day off today, which would be nice. And then big game day tomorrow. And I guess we'll blast the pot off after the game tomorrow night.
Awesome, buddy. We'll check in then. Work on your tan. We'll talk to you tomorrow night after the game.
Let's see you, pal. Have a good one. See you, Zubes.
There he is.
See you, buddy.
The great Ryan Rishaug. All right, let's take a quick pause here, Zubie, when we come back. Struddy's buddy with Darren Dreger. Lots going on, and we're getting closer to the draft, not trade deadline, and July 1st, which means free agents frenzy. We'll get to all that with him next. Stay with us.
Dennis here from Weiss Johnson. Are you looking to get into the trades or have a kid graduating high school wondering what to do? Weiss Johnson is looking for career-minded people to work for us. Opportunities truly are endless. Become a service technician, gas fitter, refrigeration technician, install residential or commercial heating and plumbing systems, fireplace installations or service, duct cleaning. We are the company where you can learn all aspects of the trade and pick which career path to take. We have an awesome benefits package for school reimbursement too. Visit wjcareers.com today.
The Hot Honey McCrispy is so back at McDonald's. With juicy 100% Canadian raised seasoned chicken, shredded lettuce, crispy jalapenos, and that completely craveable hot honey sauce, it's a sweet heat repeat you don't want to miss. Get your Hot Honey McCrispy today. Available for a limited time only at McDonald's.
Specializing in heavy-duty commercial truck powertrain repair, performance, tuning, and part sales, Adrenaline Diesel's professional team is ready to assist you with all of your needs, from the simplest oil changes to engine conversions, overhauls, and engine modifications. Featuring an all-new online parts store and machine shop to manufacture, replicate, or repair parts, visit adrenalinediesel.ca.
Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a great day. We'll continue our discussion here around NHL, off season, because there is an off season for 30 teams. Even the two that are in it are still going to have to deal with it pretty quick here. Time for Struddy's Buddies, brought to you by HSC Core Services. If you're a small to medium-sized business, HSC Core has your back when it comes to health and safety compliance. From creating and managing a tailored health and safety program that meets all legislation and core requirements, HSC Core supports clients' operations every step of the way. Visit www.hsccore.com. That's HSCECOR.com for more info. There he is, Darren Dreger. How you doing today, bud?
I'm doing well, Struddy. Yeah, back-to-back off days for those of us who aren't traveling. It's not a terrible thing. My kids are grown; they're out of the house, so really, it's about me. So once you get the household chores out of the way, then I'm a golfer, but I'm not an avid golfer anymore. I've kind of lost the bug. So no, it's been a good day. Made some calls, did a couple of interviews, and here we are.
You're at the high point of your day. You made it. At 2:25
It's a high point
on
of
a
my
Wednesday. Love it. Dregs, Dallas Stars waited pretty long had to wait after the season to make the move with Pete DeBoer. And my concern is, a lot of the coaches that maybe they've looked at are no longer available. They've gone to other jobs. So what's left and kind of what's their path forward to finding a coach for this next upcoming year?
Yeah, I can appreciate why you would think that there's not a whole lot left when you think of the Dallas Stars and you think that they probably need an experienced guy coming back, right? You let Pete DeBoer go with a year remaining on his contract, a very successful coach. So are you going the way of a less experienced guy? And it sounds like they're willing to do that. And, it also sounds, Struddy, like they're looking internally, as they should. They've got Elaine Nasruddin on the bench. And by all accounts, this guy is a good coach and could be ready to be an NHL head coach. So they've got to figure that out. They've got Graham in the American League, who, people have high praise for, based on the resume that he's building. So that's what they've got internally. There's lots of talk around Glenn Gulletson and the Edmonton Oilers. And we know that, Gully was there once, took over a difficult situation back in that day. Maybe he wasn't as ready as he would be now. That kind of gave him the jump start into being an NHL coach. And, then he went on to other things, including being head coach of the Calgary Flames. So I think there's a high level of respect for what Gully and the Oilers are dealing with right now in the Stanley Cup Final. But I'd be surprised if he's not a top candidate and somebody that Jim Nill wants to talk to. And former Oilers coach Jay Woodcroft, right? I've talked to so many guys in the last year or so, teams that have interviewed Woodcroft, who can't believe how good an interview he is. Like, just knocks it out of the park, but yet they don't hire him. So that's kind of where Woody is right now. But I think Dallas is eager to talk to him as well. So there's four strong candidates that maybe don't have a wealth of experience, not the same as what Pete DeBoer had or others, but still four pretty good names that I think are in deep consideration.
We know there's a lot of good UFAs to be on the Florida Panthers, but Brad Marchand, how much has his negotiating power or what he may be able to do changed since the trade from Boston to, let's say, what will be July 1st?
Yeah, a lot, I think. And my colleague, Chris Johnson, floated out with your buddies on Overdrive earlier this week that he thinks that Marchand is going to command a 4-year term, which is hefty, right? You're looking at a 42-year-old Brad by the time that thing expires. And I think CJ said $8 million, but I believe it's above $8 million per. And I'm not suggesting that there's a negotiation that has happened with Florida at this point. No, I mean, you table it, you get through the Stanley Cup Final, but open market, That's what Brad Marchand is likely going to command. And,
Wow.
it's based on the fit, obviously, his level of productivity that has helped Florida get to this point. And Bennett, Marchand, I mean, those are the two top dogs with the Florida Panthers in this Stanley Cup final. And here's the other thing, Struddy, and you probably noticed. I mean, I look at the Yanni Gourde deal that he just signed with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Yanni Gourde isn't likely going to be around in year 6 of that deal, right? Chris Tanev, the deal that he got with the Toronto Maple Leafs, likewise. So you need an owner that isn't afraid of having to pay for a deal where the player probably isn't going to be there. And how do you work through all of that? I mean, the commissioner's office of the NHL wouldn't like this conversation because of what it kind of points to. But if you're a contending team, and Florida obviously is that, and there's a way to keep Brad Marchand in the mix by lowering the AAV, by extending whatever that term is, maybe they do that. I know there are other teams that are willing to do that based on what they're seeing.
Closer home for Oilers fans, there was some talk recently, I think it was maybe Bob Stauffer, maybe Elliot Freeman, I'm not sure, who'd mentioned about Trent Frederick and a possible extension for him. It's hard to evaluate him because he hasn't been 100%. I've had ankle sprains, and it is brutal, absolutely brutal to play through that, especially a big man. I think it's harder than if you're a smaller human. So, how would that, have you heard that? And how does that kind of play out for the Oilers and Trent based on what we've seen from him rather than maybe what we've seen from him in past years?
Well, I can tell you the Oilers have seen more or less seen enough that they're interested. They want to extend him. And I think out of respect to the process, both the player and his agent and Stan Bowman, the Edmonton Oilers, just said, you know what? Now is not the time to continue discussions and negotiations. Again, let's just table this. Let's focus on the Stanley Cup final. But they're well down the path on an extension. And frankly, Struddy, I'd be surprised if Trent Frederick doesn't get an extension with the Oilers. What that looks like, I don't know. But I do know that Trent Frederick he'd be pretty high in that middle tier of next level unrestricted free agent players that teams are looking for. And we're talking about really good teams. The Toronto Maple Leafs most definitely would have Trent Frederick on their bingo card, having played the Boston Bruins a number of times and Freddie is healthy, the game that he can play, right? So go down the list. But Edmonton also knows that. And I think that there's an appreciation for what you said, the fact that the high ankle sprain is no joke, and it takes players a long time to get over it. And I'll tell you this personally, and I don't often vouch for any player because nobody cares. I've got a good buddy of mine whose son plays for the Boston Bruins. His name is Matthew Poitras. All right, he's a young winger, developing player in Boston. Trent Frederick was a grade A teammate, like not mentor. There's not a huge difference in age there, but he made sure that young Matthew, just had everything he needed so that he didn't have to worry about the stuff that young players worry about outside of the game of hockey. That speaks volumes to me of the character of Trent Frederick. So I think that factors into any equation.
When I look at him and these conversations, do you think there's conversations about, do you see him as a center or a winger? Like, does he want to be a center? Like, as we've gone through this playoffs, I'm like, hey, maybe you should put him in center, a bigger body. He, like I would like to see him get a chance. It's probably not finals now. It's a bit late, but if he does sign, and next year you're looking at the centers, there's Connor Leon, Henrik, Nuge, Janmark's in there. That's 5 or 6. So does he want to be a winger? Can he be a center? Like, how does that fit together? And maybe the flexibility is what they want.
100%. And I've never had that conversation with him or anyone close to him. I think he's smart enough to be a center. I think he's fast enough. He's strong enough to be a center. And look, we saw a little bit of it the other night in game 3, just because the game was out of hand. We saw him go after Sam Bennett, and that side of Trent Frederick, he's got that. He's got that. He does. And I think that's where the health comes into play again, is that, he's just trying not to do anything stupid out there to draw another penalty, right? But Oilers fans, I don't think, have gotten a true appreciation of what he's capable of. And the versatility, I think, is a big part of what would attract me to Trent Frederick longer term.
Dregs, thanks for this info, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your day off, buddy. Get out there, weed the garden, right? Maybe cut
That's
the
where
lawn,
I'm going,
right?
buddy. I
There it is.
literally, I just got
There it
back.
is.
I told Zubie, I got back from the trading post. My birthday is on Friday, but I'm celebrating my birthday today because I'm coming to Edmonton on Friday for Game 5 on Saturday. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
See you there.
Yeah, so I went to the trading post, got a tomahawk steak. It's going on the grill, but before that, I'm told I have to do chores, and that includes cutting the grass. So I'm going from being a Struddy buddy to Joe the gardener.
Take the shirt off. Work on the tan before Friday. We'll see you then.
All right, man. Good talking
See
with
you,
you.
Drex. There he is, the birthday boy himself, Darren Dreger, for Struddy's buddy. Thanks for having him on. Zubie, really interesting. The Trent Frederick. I saw that, and I would like to see him sign, but I honestly think he's a center. I'd like to see him play center. I want a big, strong body down the middle of the ice, but I don't know where he plays center on this team. You've got Connor, Leon, Henrique, Nuge. That's four that are, pretty high up there. I know Henrique only has 1 year left, but and then you got, you got Noah Philp coming, or some fans would like to see him on the team. You got the janitor, who probably is, winger more than Frederick. So interesting that there's a good problem to have if you're the Oilers, a lot of centers.
It is, especially if you feel like you can kind of ease him in if you have Henrique for one more year. And certainly Janmark. Yeah, I don't think anyone's. I think Janmark's a nice piece to have, shows up really well in the playoffs, but I don't think anyone's like he must be at center. He's as useful on the wing. So yeah, I agree. That would be a big addition. I don't know how much Frederick has played center or how he is on draws, but you like the prospect of it for sure.
You love the size. I just love big guys down the middle, especially my third and fourth. You got a little bit. He's not slow. All right. And we can ask those questions into Ask Struddy for later. Let's get into Play the Field now, brought to you by our good buddies at Play Alberta.
Are we doing a break first?
Oh, geez, sorry. We better do it. I'm rolling right now, buddy. I'm on fire.
Are.
Okay, let's take a break.
We got to pay some bills here.
Come back. When we come back, we will do Playing the Field.
For over 60 years, Belvedere Golf and Country Club has delivered a high-quality membership experience to Edmonton and area. And now it's even better. Drainage and irrigation improvements in 2024 have taken course conditions to a new level. This commitment to long-term sustainability means exceptional playing conditions all season long. Belvedere's tee sheet availability is unmatched, so join now and experience golf the way it was meant to be played, on your schedule. Visit belvederegcc.com today.
Join over 250,000 Canadians who have upgraded to Canada's best mattress. Douglas is proudly made in Canada and ships directly to your door for free. Douglas is easy to set up. Enjoy perfectly balanced comfort and an easy-to-clean machine washable cover. Get a free sleep bundle with your Douglas mattress. Try risk-free for 365 nights. Get your Douglas mattress today.
If you're considering a vinyl fence, don't be fooled by cheap marketplace imitations. Get top quality vinyl fence from a trusted company with 20 years in the industry. With locations in Calgary and Edmonton, check out dlrvinylproducts.ca.
Let's jump into Playing the Field, brought to you by our buddies at Play Alberta. Playoffs are here. Make every game count with odds boosts, player props, and same-game parlays. There's no better way to raise the stakes while teams fight for those crucial points. Get a $50 free bet this month by depositing with code GYB06. Visit playalberta.ca. All right, number one, according to Frank Saravalli, that there is a strong possibility that Chris Kreider, longtime New York Ranger, is going to be traded to the Anaheim Ducks. Sounds like there'll be no retention by the Rangers. They're going to get a former second rounder from 2 years ago, or I guess 2023, and then possibly a pick. Chris Kreider to me is a big, strong guy that can skate. Goal scoring has dropped off a bit. He's getting a little older. He's got 2 years left on a deal around $6.5 million. The Rangers, this guy was put on. There's an email that they could have, anyone could have had him. So now they're going to get a little bit of something back for him. For them, I think they value the cap space. They're trying to create some cap space. For Kreider, he joins Jacob Trouba, his old teammate there. He joins Joel Quenneville, who I think will like to have some veterans that have been around in his group. You already have Killorn, you have Trouba. You've got a few other guys, Strome and now Kreider, to go along with this group, because I think that this Anaheim Ducks group is really on the right track. I really like this move for Anaheim. Really like it, especially for 6.5. Is he going to score 20, 30 goals? I bet he will. They get bigger, they get faster, and they get some insulation for these young players, Zubie.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. He's 34 though. I think I saw he's 34 years old. I guess it's you must, with a young team, you get into that kind of in between. Our young guys are now starting to develop. We think we can start making a push. I guess to me, I guess maybe it's just a leadership thing to bring him in, because I don't feel like he's a guy who puts them over the top into the next tier, but maybe it's about having him and Trouba there to sort of show some of the younger guys what the leadership is supposed to look like. And then there'll be another group, free agents they might look at a couple years down the road to take them to the next step. I get it, but I don't. I'd like to see them bringing in like a 28 or 29-year-old guy with sort of the same credentials, but maybe that's just easier said than done.
No, and that's fair. But I mean, what can Chris Kreider pass on to Cutter Gauthier? What can he pass on to guys like a Zegras? Although I don't know if he's going to be there. Mason McTavish, because I mean they've got some veterans, right? They've got Ryan Strome, Frank Vetrano, Alex Killorn. Like they've got guys, but you need to have, because 2 years from now, is Kreider same player? Maybe not. He can still skate and he's big. He'll maybe work his way down lineup. You want other guys to punch their way up. And take his spot. And then his contract is off the books when maybe you have to pay some of these guys. So I like this move. Low risk, I believe, for the Ducks, and for the Rangers, they find some cap space. Really important stuff.
Yeah. Agreed.
Hart Trophy will be announced tomorrow, just before the Oilers game 4. There'll be a show. I'll talk about that a little bit and get off the fence. Mm-hmm. But the finalists are, in no particular order, Leon Draisaitl, Connor Hellebuck, and Nikita Kucherov. Nikita Kucherov, an incredible season. Obviously, he seems to be one of the most consistent players in the league. Connor Hellebuck, great defense, or a great year for him as well. And Leon Draisaitl, a great year, led the league in goal scoring.
Goals, yeah.
But the only problem is he didn't play. He missed a dozen games or so.
Yeah.
So if you're guessing, Zubie, which way do you go as far as who wins this coveted prize tomorrow night?
Well, if I was a voter, I think I wouldn't be, because I'd be biased. I think Leon is, I think Leon, the historically for this trophy, they've shown that they value goals at a high level. I think I think that's been a deciding factor. So I would vote for Leon. Here's what I'd say. I would vote for Leon. Who do I think fits the mold of most valuable to his team? Probably Connor Hellebuck. And who do I think is actually going to win? Probably Kucherov. So I do think you can kind of make a case. I think you can make a case for all three guys, but I think that's kind of how it lays out for me.
I know you couldn't have said it any better. You look at Kucherov, he had 78 games, 121 points. Leon, 71 games, so only 7 games less, 106 points. Leon was very good defensively, but Connor Hellebuck, he was so important to his team. And you could see when we got to the playoffs, and there's some struggling. They barely made it through one round. So he is really valuable to his team. So this is how I look. If Leon had played a full year, he would get it. I would like Connor Hellebuck to win it. He won't win it. So by the process of elimination, we get to the guy who led the team or the league in scoring, or in points, total points, Kucherov. So I think that's how it's going to go down. I hope I'm wrong. And not that I don't like Kucherov. I like to see one of the other two guys gets it, but I'll be blown away if it's not Kucherov.
And I do think you said the Vezina trophy is also being handed out at this award show. And I just want to say one thing on that. I don't think we'll see, nobody ever talks about this. And I don't even remember what year it was. It was 81 or 82, I think. Mm-hmm. Mike Liut, if you remember, he was a goalie for the Hartford Whalers and some other teams, but primarily them. He was nominated for the Hart Trophy. And not only did he not win the Hart Trophy, he didn't win the Vezina on the same, which is the most bizarre thing. He was nominated for both and he won neither. But how could he be nominated for MVP and not even win the Vezina? I'll tell you, Struddy, I don't think that's going to happen.
That's so funny.
tomorrow night.
That's
I
hilarious.
think we know who's taking the Vezina Trophy.
Yeah, I think that is one I don't think we have to worry about. Okay, last thing here on the list. We all baseball. There's a ton of games, 162 a year time. All those teams. I mean, it's thousands, and there's always moments. So you've got a moment here you want to talk about that happened during the Cubs game, Cubs Dodgers, I think.
Yeah, and it seems like because when there's nonsense in baseball, sometimes it falls through the cracks. This has been somewhat publicized, which is that Chicago Cubs second baseman Nico Horner was tossed out of a game he was called out on a third strike. That was a ball, as shown on the tracking device, was shown to be a ball. He turned to the umpire and literally said, "You're having a really bad day." That was his quote. No cursing, no swearing.
Pretty harsh.
Didn't draw the line. Yeah, awful. I don't know how he'd ever recover from that type of verbal lashing. The umpire immediately tossed him out of the game. Immediately threw him out of the game, and then ended up throwing out when the Cubs manager came out to discuss it / argue, threw him out as well. So you have a player and a manager tossed from a game because the guy said, and he even said, post game, Horner said, "I don't think it's really often when you can say verbatim to the press afterwards what got you thrown out, because we know there's those magic words that get you thrown out of a game." But he said, and there's audio of it, you can hear him, "You're having a really bad day." That's the quote of what he said, got him tossed out of the game. Could you imagine how, we complain about NHL officials and, certain things about them, and some people saying, "Oh, are the linesmen trying to be part of the show by tossing guys out of the faceoff circle so often?" But could you imagine an NHL official or an official in any other sport being so thin-skinned that you couldn't say that, Struddy?
Oh, buddy, the things that are said on the ice that I've heard, that isn't even, it's not even a slap on the wrist what he said to the umpire. Like, it is, the things I've said are in crazy, and no one even got a penalty. Like, hey, watch your language. Watch my language. The things I just told you were like unrepeatable. So it's not. But what is funny, Zubie, is that the umpire was having a bad day because he let that get to him. In that moment, we say, "You know what? Hey, man, listen, I saw it as a ball, or I saw it as a strike, whatever, and just move on." And because I think the relation between an umpire or a ref and a player is, if you're respectful, and I thought that was a respectful comment. He didn't try to embarrass him or embarrass the umpire. He didn't try to show him up by, like pretending he's blind and needs glasses or anything like that. And when you're respectful, I think that you deserve more wiggle room than players that are or disrespectful to any level of ref. Like, if you talk to them and say, "Hey, this is what I think I'm seeing. What are you seeing here? Why is this not called?" So to me, that's really important, the level of respect. And I thought there was a great deal of respect shown there, not showing up the ump. So I thought he reacted poorly. And I'm sure that the manager of the umps would be giving him a call and talking about that ejection.
Because we know there's some no words, and we also know it's a no to draw a line in the dirt in the batter's box. Yeah. And now it's become a no. A guy got tossed, and this was arguable too, but another guy got tossed about a week ago for tapping his helmet, because you know how we talked about in spring training that you could challenge by doing the helmet tap. So someone did that in a game and also got kicked out, but it was arguable whether he was kind of scratching his head and it was arguable whether it was subjective, whether or not he was making the head tap, like saying, "I'd challenge that if I could," and he got tossed. So I don't get the thing that drives me crazy about that is, like I said when we were talking about this off air, that player is some kid's favorite player who came to see him play today and got kicked out for that. Like, get out of here. That kind of makes me sick, especially with young kids. You think about how your kid would feel if they went to see their favorite player. If their kid went to see Connor McDavid play and he got tossed from a game for saying something as soft as that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane. And, again, I'm not advising that you yell at referees, but if you're going to yell at them and you say that to them, you shouldn't be tossed out. I really feel passionate about that. Yeah. Okay, that was Playing the Field. Now it's time to get off the fence. Brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. As Alberta's #1 vinyl product supplier, DLR offers top quality materials to build a fence or deck that won't rot, fade, or fall apart. If you need a skilled contractor to take care of the job, or you prefer a DIY approach, DLR can help set you up with all you need. Canadian owned and operated with locations in Calgary and Edmonton. Visit them today online at dlrvinylproducts.ca. I love the way the NHL has decided to hand out their awards this year. If you haven't been following along, usually they have a big mixer, maybe Vegas somewhere. They try to bring out some celebrities. They drag the players in there. They have to fly from wherever, and they have to, accept the awards or be there and like, God, I wish I won that one, whatever. And it's just kind of a longer drawn out process that I don't find interesting at all. I don't think I've ever watched one. I think I watched when my cousin Scott Niemeyer was up there for the Norris, but I've never watched one at all. This year, they decided to do it similar to what the NBA does. And they have slowly announced the players. And what they've done is they've had friends and family surprise them. So there's been a couple. I'll give you a couple that we've seen. Alexander Barkov won the Clancy Award, and he was kind of introduced. And these are videos you can see online through the NHL, the King Clancy team meeting. You had Spencer Carberry win the Jack Adams Coach of the Year award. His wife and kids came in and told him. That was so cute. I love that moment. The one that really tugged at the heartstring was the Masterton Trophy with Sean Monahan and Johnny Gaudreau's widow. Yes. She came, knocked on the door. They had told him that they were having family pictures, and it was her. And she said, "Congrats, you won." And I was bawling. I mean, Sean was crying. Sean's wife was crying. Meredith, she seemed to be keeping it together from what the video I saw. But it was such a special moment and so intimate. And then lastly, today, Cale Makar was notified he's the Norris Trophy winner. And he was on a golf trip golfing with his buddies, and they drove by his house. And all of his family and friends were in the backyard, and they came out and showed him that they had won and he had the trophy. So that was a cool one. So what I love about this, Zoobs, and why they think they should continue to do this, it makes it very special, personal, and intimate. When you're on the stage, someone comes over and hands you an award and you're kind of awkward in a suit. This is very real. And you see the unscripted reaction that the guys have and their families have. I've loved this. Now, we'll have you mention the Hart and Vezina tomorrow. Okay, you want to have a small one tomorrow night. It's just before the Oilers game for an hour. Isaiah Mustafa is going to be hosting it. That's neat. But I don't think we really need to do that at all. I think they can do it this way, Zubie, and have it. And now it's in the cycle. It's in the news cycle. These clips are being shown, reposted. We're talking about here. I think the NHL has hit an absolute slam dunk homer with these ways of releasing the videos and the winners.
And I like the timing too. I like trickling it out throughout the finals. That helps. And it, like you said, not only is it in the news cycle, it stays in the news cycle. You got a new one coming out every day or every other day. So that's really smart too. It is infinitely better than certainly what the award show had become. And respectfully, I know there's obviously people who work very hard to put those shows together. But for me, I haven't watched it in the past few years because it had become unwatchable for me. Now, you take me back to, I think is 1986 with Alan Thicke hosting, the late great Alan Thicke. And my brother and I remember we recorded that one on VHS. So I think we weren't home. So we literally recorded it on VHS, and we would rewatch that thing over and over again because Alan Thicke gave this great monologue. And I know there were just some great moments in it. So that's the last time it was watchable for me, I think. 1986. But no, this is brilliant what they've done. And even on the show, I don't know what they're going to do on the show, but maybe they have longer edits of these cuts too. Like they could put these video reveals of all of the other trophies could certainly go into that hour. I think it's been great content for the league.
Now, there are those that, the players should have to come and all get in one room and do it. But I don't agree with that. After the season's been long enough here, they have families, they have friends, they have commitments they have to do to not have to go and do this. I think it's the right move. Now, I don't know if the winners are going to be there just to give a high five, 2 claps and a woo, maybe. But I don't think they should have to go. I really like the way they've handled this, Zubie. So let's see how they do it moving forward, but I think they're on to something. The one thing I would disagree with, Zoobs, is I think that the draft shouldn't be decentralized. I think it is cool to have everyone in one place, and I think that's a special moment that we're robbing these players of. So I would like to see them go back to I don't know if you want to call it centralized spot for the draft, but I love the decentralized awards. So they got a half right, which I think is a very positive thing.
Yeah, well, hopefully they're just tweaking. I agree. I like the draft the way it was. And again, just another thought on, I would be okay if they did an award show and invited everyone. They would not force them to be there. Invite everyone. We're going to do a thing in Vegas.
Sure.
It's going to be a party, but make it snappy. Don't bog it down with the half-ass comedy bits, trying to get the players involved in something that makes them so uncomfortable. Just make it about the awards. Don't try to, any of your favorite things that are kind of niche things, and hockey's not a niche thing in Canada, but it is in the States to some degree. Don't try to bloat it with celebrities who don't actually care, just like make it about hockey, make it about the awards, celebrate the players and make it snappy, because that I think is entertainment enough for hockey fans. And you're not going to it's not like you're going to draw in, there's an award show on every week. You're not going to draw in people who don't give a rat's ass about hockey, because Keenan Thompson's hosting. And Keenan was not bad, actually. Keenan was okay. But that never works. It's the wrong strategy. So they're getting closer, Struddy. They're tweaking things.
From your lips to God's ears, or in this case, Gary Bettman's ears. Let's make this happen. All right, this is the time where now all of you, we love all of our stream people are jumping in and listening today. Time to ask Struds. Brought to you by McDonald's. Who doesn't love it? Hot Honey McCrispy. The Hot Honey McCrispy is back at McDonald's with 100% Canadian seasoned chicken, shredded lettuce, crispy jalapenos, and their craveable hot honey sauce. It's the perfect balance of sweet and heat. Get another taste of the Hot Honey McCrispy today, only available at McDonald's for a very limited time. Don't waste your time. Get over and make it happen. I'm going to start one. I've got one here on Twitter, Zoobs, I'm going to get to.
Oh, good.
From Hontorio Momes, I should say.
Yeah.
As an ex-player, does state provincial tax income come into talks when figuring out signing in cities? I think it's a big part, and Bettman is full of turds. Every player has their own agenda. So when you sit down with your agent, as a free agent, I did this many times, he prioritizes what's important. So, an example would be maximizing earning potential, playing on a winner, close to home, the city of choice, playing opportunity, coach, playing with a buddy, all that kind of stuff goes back into it. And then he goes through it. So personally, when I went through it, it was playing opportunity, obviously number one. Number two was, I wanted to be on a winner, although that didn't happen as much as I'd like to be. And then that you just kind of go through it. And then, so for some, I want to make as much money as possible. Okay, then let's take those tax considerations into effect. But for others, it's not important. Everyone has their own agenda. And I think it is being blown up quite a bit because Nashville also has some cheaper tax income.
Okay.
And they were, if not the worst, one of the worst teams in the league. So I think you got to be careful. I think it's just a really good time right now for Florida and Tampa. But for many years, they had the same breaks and they weren't very good. So what happened back then?
Yeah, I agree. I would just say I think it's just like you said. It's one more factor. Is it quote unquote an advantage? Maybe this much, but that still doesn't mean you might sign a guy who's a dud. Who can't, you might sign. Not to say that Steven Stamkos is a dud, but you might sign a guy like the season he had this year and go, oops, well, state tax didn't make him play any better. It might have been a small advantage to getting him there, but that doesn't mean he fits with your team. To me, it's a small advantage, but not worth all the chatter it's getting.
100%. Where else you got, Zoobs?
I got another one from Twitter, and this has been said on the stream quite a bit. But this person I thought had put it a good way. Golden Era Hockey on Twitter said, I hate to say it, but Ekholm's return has disrupted the pairs that were working. I almost wish he didn't come back, even though he's been objectively better than Stetcher. Nurse can't play with anyone else, it seems. Is it fair to say this? Not like we agree Ekholm is the better choice, but do you think they've given up, as you said, 14 goals in 3 games in the final? Now Ekholm is +3 in those games, but do you think it's fair to say that Ekholm coming back has disrupted the D pairings?
I wouldn't say that. You always want the best players in your lineup possible. And Ekholm is, if not the best, he's one of the top 2 defensemen on the Edmonton Oilers. So you need him in the lineup. You just can't. So then you figure it out. They've had so much success with him in the lineup, and he is +3 in the finals, which I think is important to note. would we have thought this after game 1? Probably not.
No.
After game 2, probably not. But now after game 3, I think everyone's looking at every little thing. I said it before and I'll say it again. The Oilers have to play the way they have. They don't have to reinvent the game and how they're playing.
Right.
I've already advocated there'll be one change in the lineup. I think it's Stetcher for Klingberg. And Chalker's now got me thinking maybe there'll be a second one up front. I do think fresh energy, French legs will make a difference.
Quick little comment here from Michael just on the awards thing. He said, oh shoot, where did it go? He said, Hart and Vezina on the same day. I bet it's Hellebuck for both. That's his thought. So there could be something to that. Of course, why did they save the Vezina to be in that show as well instead of the other one? So a little bit of conspiracy, but I think he might be onto something there. Kayla Weethorn, our friend down in Texas, says, this is kind of on the Marchand talk. What do you think are some of the factors on why some players are able to play at a high level and still be productive into their 40s? Marchand, Ovi, as most hang them up sometimes a decade sooner, certainly 6 to 7 years sooner. Throw Corey Perry in there. Well, what trait do those guys who are contribute at a high level for a long time? What's the running theme there if you see one?
Well, first off, the idea of Marchand getting a 4-year contract at 37, I almost fell off my chair. I'm like, 4 years? That is incredible. He's going to be 37, 38, 39. 40. Like, are you kidding? I can't even believe it. So I think there's a few factors. I think that, the longer you can look after your body, the earlier you look after your body and the more consistent you are with it. And that includes everything. Working out, getting rest, the way you eat, recovery, all that stuff, you can play longer. And it makes a big difference. And, Brad Marchand, my concern is he's slowing down a little bit. Now he's looking good in this playoffs.
Yeah.
But they're playing a long time. Corey Perry, you look after himself. He's in good shape. He understands the game. He's really smart. I think Brad Marchand is very smart as well. So that hockey IQ, the longer you can play, I think it really helps when you have that high-end hockey IQ, which both these players do, big time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Michael says, refs call everything in the first, then nothing in the next two. BS game management, in his opinion. But is that an important thought when that is certainly we've seen the bulk of the penalties in the first period? Do you think that's something the Oilers might be hammering home? Hey, let's especially play our game, hard and fast in the first period, and hopefully have draw penalties rather than take them.
Yeah, I think that I'm guessing that Stan Bowman maybe reminded the league that, there are two teams out there and just, advocate. I think that's the time where you use that card and call the league and say, hey, these are 3 instances where we thought that we didn't like the call on us and it should have been on them. Like, just to get a little bit less maybe of what they feel or they're not getting a fair shake. I don't think that the reffing was perfect on game 3, but the Oilers were definitely not as good as the refs were, right? Like, if that means like, hey, they really had a tough night and they're trying to do things that they're not there. So I don't think you can say the Oilers lost the game because of the refs.
No, certainly not.
I think I want to get to one here from, looks like Tom, looks like a young boy from the spelling. I see Struddy is signing tomorrow night at Rogers. How much does a Strudwick rookie card fetch you on the open market? Well, I'll tell you what, Tom, young Tom, I can, and check the spelling on some of those things. I will, I'm happy to sign you an autograph. Just let me know where to sign it. And, to Tommy, dream big, your idol, Jason Strudwick.
Do you know that, Tom? Is that why you're, do you know that name?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. I'm basically his life coach.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Deutschland Dangler wants to know, if Kane takes a dumb penalty in the first 10 minutes, do you bench him? For the love of God, he needs to be a difference maker for us. I'll add, he needs to be a difference maker in the right way on the positive side of things. I was wondering if he might end up taking a seat after the first period in game 3. How tight of a line is that to walk with him, Struds?
Well, Evander Kane is a huge difference maker, and he doesn't play in the gray area of the game. He plays in the dark, like on the other side. Like he is on the other side of the game, the way he plays and his intensity. So you at times have to accept the penalties he takes, because when he's on, because last night was just a little bit off, or 2 nights ago. But when he's on, he is such a difference maker. I believe that he will reset himself, and the team will reset him and say, we need you being physical. You don't have to stick guys. Like the penalty I didn't like was when the guy was on the ground and he just kind of put his stick in his face. Like, that doesn't do anything. There's no pain. You might cut him for stitches, but it makes no difference at all to that player. But running him through the boards, that does. So I think we'll see with Kane and others a reset. Jake Wallman, he was running around like an animal. You know, and I love the edge of Jake Wallman, but you've got to play right up to the edge and not when you're looking like you're out of control. And to me, Jake and Kane look like they're out of control.
I got longtime listener Daryl Dragon actually just sent me a text. I don't know if he's still listening or if he's just looked into this and got back to us, but he just texted me and said, center is Trent Frederick's preferred position, on and off at center in Boston, and played center in his college and throughout his career. So
that's Drake saying that.
Yeah.
Listen, just to circle back to that, when he was traded for, I honestly thought that he was just a one and done. I'd heard he wanted to go. He's from St. Louis. He'd go back to St. Louis. So when I saw those reports come up like earlier this week, I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, I can't believe it. And I would like to see him at center. I truly would. You know, obviously he's not going to be like a Adam Lowry. No one can be like Kyle Lowry, the basketball player, but Adam Lowry. But a big center that can score, can fight, I'd like to see him get into some killing penalties. Like that's what I'd like to see from him. Because a big center, now you'd have Leon and Trent as centers. Those are big centers. And then, Henrique, maybe does he transition to the wing? Again, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. We're not even done this series, the playoffs. But it really caught me off guard actually about Frederick. So it got me thinking, where does he want to play? I do think he is a center and should play more center, but not in the fourth line. That's the difference.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to see him higher in the lineup as well. Okay, one last hockey one here, and then we'll have a fun one, and we'll get out of here. Hendricks Dented Can says, our power play hasn't delivered the desired results this round. Florida doing a great job keeping everything perimeter. What can the Oil do to spread them out to get shots through? Struddy, you're not a power play guy. We deferred to Brownie on the other podcast. But if it were you, if you were coaching the Oilers power play, what's a move, a tweak, a thought that you'd be giving them to be more effective or certainly generate more chances?
So when I was killing penalties, when we were rolling, we were on you right away before you even knew what you want to do with the puck. When we weren't, we were usually a step behind. And why were we a step behind? Because the other team was moving the puck quicker than we could react. And so the Oilers have been just a half step behind in where they're moving the puck, how they're moving. So you really got to get that puck moving. And to do that, you have to be moving into open space before the other person maybe even gets the puck. So you have to move, get open before I even have the puck. Then I can pass you. Then someone's already moved from that position as well. So I'm hoping that they figure that out, because right now there's very little threat on their power play, and Florida really doesn't care about taking any kind of rough penalties against the Oil.
Okay, last one here. JL asks, this is a great question. Ask Struddy, what sporting event do you wish you'd like to attend live that you haven't been to? World Cup Final, Olympics, something else. What's a big sporting event on the Struddy bucket list?
I'd love to see the Tour de France, but it's horrible to watch in person. You just stand there, a bike goes by, and you're like, that's it. Whoa, there goes Zubie. Like it is terrible. So I think that one's off my list. The Olympics is amazing. I remember when the World Track and Field Games were here, I watched the 100-meter final, and I couldn't believe how fast they were. I sat there for hours every day, and I loved it. I loved watching it. So that would be one for sure. But I also do really like the idea of the World Cup. I would like to think that as my kids get a little older, I'm not rushing them out of the house. I'll have more flexibility to go out for a game here, a game there in Europe and watch. And that would be an amazing experience. I don't know who I'd cheer for. I guess I don't know if Canada would be in there, Zub. That might be a bit of wishful thinking, but I'd love to see that live and just to experience it, just to be a part of it and pick a team and go with it and see what happens. What about you?
Well, I did. My brother's done a bunch of big soccer tournaments, but I did do one in 2012. We went to the Euro the Euro Championship, because it was in Poland and Ukraine. So we went, and my father was born in Poland, so we went over there. My dad came, my brother and myself and my dad. So we went over, and that was pretty cool. We got to see Ronaldo in Donetsk, Ukraine. So we did get to see some big time players. But I think for me, the bucket list one that I haven't been to, I think I'd actually have to say the Masters. I think it would
Okay.
I think it would be pretty cool to be there live at the Masters. That's pretty special. I think even if you're not a huge golf fan, I don't know. I just think that the venue and the history, like, I think that's incredibly cool.
I can dig it. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. All right, everybody, thank you for that, and for our good buddies over at McDonald's for helping us out. Get over there, and I think I got to have a milkshake today. It's kind of warm out.
Oh, yeah.
Milkshake would be nice. Just bring down the core temperature.
Triple thick. It's going to be 30. I think we got 32 here today in Kelowna.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that is massive. Yeah, I love it. I like it when you have to work for it to get it out. That's what makes it so good.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. A great stream. We love having all your questions, and we hope we gave you a path forward to tell your buddies now after lunch. And this is what they think we got to do. The Oilers have to do these 3 things: stay out of the box and play a good defensive game. They'll get there. So thanks for all your comments. Thanks to all our sponsors as well for making this possible. Zubie, thank you to you for your energy, and any other thoughts you got here as we head off into the deep.
No, just when Knobloch texts you back after you text him the plan, maybe put it on Twitter so everyone could see what his response is to that, because I want to see him implement it.
Yeah, I just in my phone he's Coach Nobby, 2 B's, 1 Y, not in a row. I'll let you know what he says, everybody.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Oilers game 4 tomorrow, all important. They have we'll have a pod right after that, so look forward to that. Have yourself a great day. Get some sleep today, people, because it could be another long one tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Wednesday. See you, everybody. Have a good one.
Good afternoon.